moist, right? An easy way to remember this is M&M's, motion and moist, okay? Motion and moist. Remember that there's 4 legs on an animal, and these legs are supporting that 1,000-pound carcass, or 1,200-pound carcass. So imagine walking around carrying 1,000 pounds all day long. Each one of them is supporting 250, each one is supporting over 250 pounds. So just a way to remember motion and moist. What's the other type of muscles that we have? We have motion muscles. What are the other muscles?
Low activity muscles.
Static.
Low activity, what are they called? What's another name? Motion?
Sedentary.
Sedentary muscles, very good, sedentary muscles. So how do we cook sedentary muscles? Hydraulic, right? So, easy way I always tell my students to remember this is M&M's, my favorite candy, right? M&M's, motion and moist. And if I don't have M&M's, I'm sad, sedentary and dry. So it's either motion and moist or it's sedentary and dry. M&M's or I'm sad, okay? Okay, so today we're going to do 3 steps. We're going to, what I call flat trim or common sense trim, and the technique will be flat trimming. We're going to take off all this outside fat that we know we're not going to want to use. And we're going to put that off to the side. That's going to be unusable trim. Then we're going to go into what we call denuding, D-E-N-U-D-I-N-G, denuding. And denuding is when we're going to get literally underneath all this silver skin, which will be more obvious once we get this off. And we're going to remove that silver skin with a technique called the pullover cut. We're actually going to make a little tab of silver skin, and we're going to pull it over our knife, and we're going to hold it down, and we're going to slice backwards towards ourselves. Now, I think Chef Schneller, he does his forwards. Just 2 different techniques. It would be cool to learn both, right? But whatever he tells you, obviously, is what he wants you to do, okay? But whatever I do is my style. Even though we grew up in the same era, we still have different styles of cutting, okay? All right, so we're going to start with the flat trimming. Excuse me, please. And I like to have the piece of meat from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, large end here towards me. That's my style. I like having it that way. I don't like seeing people do this back and forth. It's just too easy to get that hand where it doesn't belong, and then we're going to make a trip to the nurse. Okay, so let's try to maintain this 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock position, and lay your knife flat and just trim, just trim off. And we're trying not to get into that meat. We're just trying to take off the unwanted. All right, and just work it. Okay. Try to use the least amount of energy possible. In other words, what I mean by that is make every action of your knife have a result. Okay. Someday you don't know where you're going to end up. We all want to end up in kitchens or whatever, but you never know where you're going to end up. I never realized that I'd end up here teaching. So I would say that in a situation where you might have to do 40 or 50 of these in a day, anytime you can save a little bit of energy, you're ahead of the game. You'd be surprised how fast you get tired. I see so many students just doing this. God, so many motions, so many wasted motions. Look, this boom. Okay. Time is money in every industry, especially the food industry. Okay. Turn it around and go the other way. See, all I'm doing, I'm not getting into any red. Not yet. If I hit a little bit of red once in a while, not the end of the world. But you notice my hand is always behind the blade. Okay. And if I'm going to go back this way, I still put my hand behind the blade. So that's called flat trimming. The technique is flat trimming. What we're doing is just common sense. We're just taking off the stuff that we know is going to be unused. Okay. Next step now is denuding. D-E-N-U-D-I-N-G, denuding. Removing of the outside skin. Now you can see how much, you can see it so much better now, right? Before it was all covered with fat. Here's a little bit more I could have taken off. Much easier to do your flat trimming with your larger knife, with your slicing knife. Much easier. But then again, you're going to get into some areas where it's a little bit tighter. What I don't want you to do during this denuding process, I don't want you to try to get down in between the muscles. I just only want you to denude at the surface only. At the surface only, okay? What I mean by that is this. Let's get under it. Now, when you start your denuding, you never start at the very end. Always start back a couple inches. Get underneath that skin. Make yourself a tab. Try to get as least amount of red meat on there as possible. Sometimes it's harder than others. All right? But what you're looking for is just this tab right here. You're going to take that tab and you're going to lay it over top of your knife and you're going to hold it down. Okay? That's the whole idea here. Is if you're doing this and just holding it up and doing this, that's not good. What ends up happening is you're chopping the meat as you go along, and we call those ladder marks. You know, these little cuts in the meat. You don't want that. Okay? Over. And now, if you notice, my knife is 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Any lefties in here? Okay, that's going to be a 2 o'clock, 8 o'clock for you. All right? So you're going to go and you're going to drag back and you're going to tilt your knife up slightly, angle it up slightly. So basically what I'm doing is I'm scraping the bottom of this skin. That's what I'm doing. Okay? Up, over, pull back. Okay? Your objective is to get a nice long piece. Not easy on something like this. And if you get down that far, you choke up and you go again. You choke up, you go again. You know what I mean by choke up, right? You get closer. Okay? And you go back and get some more. Some of this stuff is pretty tough. Okay? You're trying to get as least amount of red on there as possible. Now this is what I was saying before. Don't go in between the muscles. Just go at the surface. Just go to the surface. Okay, now here I could do a little combination. I could do a little bit more flat trimming first, and then I can get underneath it a little bit better. Okay? This technique is not something that's going to go away. In the meat industry, this is a technique that's used every day. Every day. So you must embrace it because it's not going to go away. Choke up. Okay. Here. Back over here. Okay. Flip my knife, angle it up. Get a nice cut this time. Look at that. Okay. This technique is used when you're cleaning filet mignons or beef tenderloins. You'll see chef do that tomorrow, actually. Okay, so then you're just going to keep working your way around. That's a big piece of tendon that will lead into silver skin. Okay, maybe a little bit more flat trimming here to do some exposing. Okay, a little bit more here maybe. Here I got a little layer of meat on top of the silver skin. Take that off of there. You might have a much larger piece on your end. That's usable trim. Actually, I saw more usable trim here somewhere. If it's red, it's bread. That's money, right? Protect your red. If it's red, it's bread. You get the idea?
Yes, sir.
Now you don't want to spend 3 hours doing this, obviously. Like I said, and that'll happen by just making sure that every move of your knife, this area right here is especially hard, not hard, but big. If every stroke of your knife has a result, you'll be surprised how quickly you'll get done. Look at the size of that tab I'm taking off. When you do this on pork loins, you'll be surprised on how big your pieces will get. A little bit, please don't bang like that on the table. Sorry. I really appreciate the classroom being very quiet when we're working, so you can focus 100% on what you're doing, okay? So that means no sidebar conversations. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll be around to watch. So here you go again, see? Nice tab, nice big tab. Yours will probably be a little bit easier because yours were in a vacuum seal, so that means they stayed moist, where mine's been exposed to the air for a few days, and it gets very dry. Choke up. See, I'm always pulling it over. I'm not lifting it up, I'm holding it down. Pull over. Pull over. Pull over. Okay. See what I got? I'm not 100% denuded, but I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close. So I would like for you to take about 12 minutes, 14 minutes, and do this. And then we'll stop and we'll go to the next step, okay?
Okay.